walking home after a long day at college, takes a shortcut through a dimly lit alleyway. The street lamps flicker above, casting only small pools of light on the ground beneath her feet. As she turns a corner, she spots a man standing near his car, a Volkswagen Beetle, struggling to carry some books. His arm is in a sling, and he looks helpless. But is he really as harmless as he seems? She approaches him, offering assistance, but little does she know that this encounter will change her life forever. In a split second, everything she thought she knew about safety, about the world around her, would come crashing down. This was no accident. This was the work of one of the most notorious serial killers in history, Ted Bundy. How could someone so charming, so seemingly normal, be behind such chilling crimes? What was it that allowed him to slip through the hands of law enforcement for so long? Why, despite several close calls and growing evidence, was Ted Bundy able to keep evading capture, leaving behind a trail of victims? Today, we dive into the shocking story of how Ted Bundy used his intelligence and charm to manipulate everyone around him and evade justice for years. But we're not just going to recount his crimes. The story is a puzzle that took years to solve, and we'll break it down for you. Can you guess what finally led to his capture? Was it a single breakthrough or a series of mistakes he made in his final days? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think was the key moment in Bundy's capture? Before we get into it, don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel for more gripping true crime stories. We're diving deep into some of the most chilling cases, and you won't want to miss a single one. Stay with us as we explore how Ted Bundy evaded capture for so long, and how the authorities eventually caught the man behind the mask. Ted Bundy's case is a complex and chilling example of how a serial killer operates within society's most unsuspecting areas, using charm and intellect to disguise his true nature. His ability to evade capture for such an extended period is a reflection of his sophisticated manipulation and deep understanding of human psychology. Bundy's modus operandi, MO, was not one of brute force alone. It involved an intricate combination of deception, empathy, and calculated behavior. He would often approach his victims under the guise of someone in need. Bundy, physically fit and well-groomed, used his outwardly harmless appearance to create an illusion of trustworthiness. His technique involved feigning injury. He would wear a sling or use crutches to lower the guard of his potential victims, making them more likely to assist him. This psychological manipulation is critical in understanding how Bundy preyed upon his victims. He exploited basic human instincts, capitalizing on the willingness to help others in distress. His victims, often young women, were typically found in locations where they were most vulnerable: parking lots, near schools, or at public events. Bundy's choice of victim also plays a role in understanding his criminal trajectory. These women were not random targets, but rather fit a specific profile: young, educated, attractive, and often from middle-class backgrounds. This pattern provides insight into Bundy's psychology. He was not just seeking to kill, he was seeking a certain type of victim that represented something more symbolic to him. As Bundy's crimes escalated, so did his methods. He refined his approach, becoming bolder with each attack. His ability to blend into his surroundings made it difficult for witnesses to offer reliable descriptions. It wasn't until after several abductions that a pattern began to emerge. Despite the fact that many of his victims were abducted in public spaces, Bundy was able to avoid detection due to his calm demeanor, well-chosen victimology, and ability to distance himself emotionally from the crimes he committed. This was a key component of his survival. He was able to compartmentalize his violent actions, keeping a facade of normalcy in his daily life. Bundy's intelligence also played a significant role in his evasion of law enforcement. He worked in a variety of roles that gave him access to sensitive information, including time spent in political positions and a role at the Department of Emergency Services. His work in these positions, which involved public safety and missing persons, allowed him to craft his persona even further. Bundy understood the psychology of law enforcement, often manipulating investigators by speaking about missing women in a professional tone, as if he were part of the solution. His ability to align himself with law enforcement made him more difficult to detect and even allowed him to hide in plain sight at times. At the same time, Bundy's criminal behavior showed a deep and disturbing pattern of sadism. His crimes weren't limited to murder, they included a series of post-mortem actions that reflect Bundy's need for control and dominance over his victims. His actions, such as returning to the scene of his crimes or keeping parts of his victims, suggest a profound desire to maintain power over those he had killed. It is in these details that we can understand Bundy's deep psychological complexity. His violent tendencies were not simply acts of rage, but acts of ownership, possession, and ultimate power over life and death. Despite the fact that numerous witnesses described the same individual, a man with a sling and a Volkswagen Beetle, the law enforcement agencies failed to connect the dots quickly enough. This failure speaks to a broader issue in criminal investigation: the challenges posed by serial criminals who do not fit the stereotypical image of a killer. Bundy's outward normality was, in fact, his greatest weapon. Law enforcement at the time had a limited understanding of how to approach individuals who appeared outwardly harmless yet committed horrifying acts in private. The breakthrough in the Bundy case came when his background and behaviors were more thoroughly examined. Once the authorities began to piece together his criminal activities, Bundy's own habits became his undoing. He had made several errors during his spree, returning to places he had previously victimized and even interacting with the police. This gave investigators the opportunity to zero in on him. However, even as law enforcement's net closed in on him, Bundy still tried to manipulate the legal system, using his charisma to create doubt and confusion during his trial. His choice to represent himself in court was another strategic move in his game of manipulation. He used his understanding of the legal system to delay proceedings and attempt to sway public opinion in his favor. Finally, Bundy's capture was inevitable, though it was delayed by his cleverness and his ability to adapt to changing circumstances. His intelligence allowed him to evade capture for years, but in the end, it was the tireless work of law enforcement, combined with advances in forensic technology, that led to his eventual downfall. Bundy's case is a sobering reminder of how difficult it can be to catch someone who understands human nature as well as he did. It also highlights the necessity for a broader understanding of criminal psychology in modern law enforcement practices. Ted Bundy was not just a killer, he was a master manipulator. His case underscores the importance of behavioral profiling, and the need for investigators to approach. Ted Bundy is one of the most notorious serial killers in criminal history. His crimes were not just acts of brutal violence but also a chilling tale of deception, manipulation, and the exploitation of trust. Bundy, with his perfect appearance and charm, used these traits to hide his true nature and carry out horrendous acts that many would find hard to believe. Bundy's crimes were not limited to murder, they were an assault on human dignity and life itself. He turned his victims into pawns in a terrifying game he created, a game no one could escape. Bundy's ability to evade capture for so many years proves that the danger wasn't just in his actions but also in how he manipulated those around him to create the perfect disguise. In the end, thanks to relentless law enforcement efforts and critical tips from the public, Bundy was apprehended and had to pay for his heinous acts. This story reminds us of the dangers of overtrusting appearances and how a criminal's cunning can easily make us lose our guard. Conclusion: Ted Bundy's story is not just a lesson in the evils he committed, but also a warning about deceit, dishonesty, and the hidden dangers that some people can hide behind a perfect exterior. It reminds us that we must always remain vigilant, even with those we think we can trust. Sometimes, the most dangerous criminals are not those who look frightening, but those who can deceive us with just a smile. Remember, never ignore warning signs and always keep a cautious eye on those around you. If you found this story fascinating and want to learn more about other infamous cases, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more intriguing